Ngatho cia mwanya muno mwiroreri na muthikiriria wa njata na ta uria tukoretwo tugikwira ni ati muthenya wa umuthi tugukorwo guku mwena wa Laikipia County na niguo kuri guku mwena wa Kenya kana Nanyuki High School na guku tunyititwo geni ni aria matuhaririirie debate ya mwanya ya aria marahuranira giturwa kia ugavana thiini wa county ino ya Laikipia na ni twina muthenya wa umuthi ni ngeto Helen Muthoni.
Thank you muno Helen Muthoni ni undu wa guthii na mbere na gutariria uguo na we mwiroreri witu wa Njata TV na muthikiriria wa Njata FM haha mbere itu twina amwe a ahuraniri a giturwa kia gavana guku Laikipia County o undu umwe na aikari a Laikipia County aria magiukite nigetha maigue cioneki cia atongoria aya tunyititwo ugeni ni Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry Laikipia chapter nigetwo Anva Lawrence na tugukorwo guku gutigirira ati we wi mwena uria haria habatarania kwario gikuyu ni wakorwo kiamukira wega
na ni mwena wa gweta kwina aria mawikorwo magitwarithia mutaratara wa umuthi mugaru no uria umenyerete tugitwarithia debate tena muthenya wa umuthi tugukorwo tugikuneana na no tukorwo tukiaririo na ruthiomi rwa githungu kana githweri na nikio twi haha niguo tukorwo tugitaurira aria amwe matangikorwo makinyita ruthiomi ru muthenya wa umuthi tugukorwo tugiikiria uria gukorwo akimoderate ni moderator witu na hatari mwarigu I'll hand over to you Bwana John CV Okumu ukorwo ugitutwarithia. Please take over.
Ladies and gentlemen, perhaps you could give us a clap. Mabibi na mabwana, hamjambo na karibuni. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first ever televised gubernatorial debate. Gubernatorial is a very long and complicated word which I only learned yesterday, but it seems to suggest that it is about a debate amongst the people who wish to become governor of Laikipia County in the next elections. This is wonderful that we're getting our clapping out of the way at the beginning, because pretty soon I'm going to say that we must remain completely silent. We mustn't jeer, we mustn't boo, we mustn't heckle. But so far, that was something to applaud. I think the very first thing for me to establish is some house rules, which we've established by talking to the four gentlemen beside me. They are those candidates who have the time to be with us this afternoon. There are more aspirants for this post, but sadly, with the commitments in their lives, they couldn't make it. This needn't be the last debate. I think this is a pioneering enterprise, and we want to prove that as a society, we're somewhat interested in the idea of discussion, of debate, of dialogue in a civil and civilized manner, and that we can actually discuss ideas as opposed to campaign slogans. So the very first thing that even if we don't get it absolutely right, we shall be setting an example, a template to be improved upon. And so perhaps the first thing is to applaud these gentlemen for having agreed to come. So, two very simple house rules from you, which we might tweak as the afternoon goes on. From you, the viewers in this hall, please do not heckle and jeer those people whom you do not support. And the house rule from our aspirants is, please be respectful of each other. Is that something we can agree to by just nodding our heads? Well, you saw the nod. Here we go then. Introductions. We're sitting the way we are because we are sitting in alphabetical order by surname. Closest to me is, everybody's equal on this stage, so I hope you'd allow me to call you Mr., although you might be His Excellency, His Grandiose, His Most Almighty. For now, we'll just go for We'll just go for Mr. We'll just go for Mr. Mr. So this is the point where the clapping has to cease. Although you can respond to my tremendous sense of humor and just laugh, but that's about it. Mr. Gitonga Kabugi. Sorry. No response from the floor. We have to stick to the rules or we have to stop. One of the things that we must remind ourselves of as we practice, that we are on live TV. So although there might be 200 of us here, there are possibly 200,000 or 2 million people watching. We are live on Jata TV for the next 3 hours. We're live on Jata Radio. We are live streaming this on YouTube. So every single modern technology instrument is being brought to bear to make this go out to as many people as possible. Mr. Gitonga Kabugi is a soil and water engineer and an accountant by profession. He has worked both as a banker and consultant on tax and financial investments. He is currently deputy governor and held the portfolios of water and cooperatives for some 3 years. And by the way, I'm giving the profiles that these gentlemen have written themselves. So what I'm only displaying is my ability to read. We have Mr. James Madenge, who is a graduate of the University of Nairobi, accounting, and of Eastern University in the United States of America in organizational leadership. By profession, he is an accountant and economic development specialist, and under the category of experience, he has written local, national, and international experience in socio-economic transformation covering Kenya, the DRC, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Zambia. Next to him, we have Mr. Ndirito Mureithi, who is an economist and financial expert. He is a former MP for Laikipia West between the years 2008 and 2013. Prior to that, he was an SME and financial expert with the International Finance Corporation, or IFC. And last but by no means least, we have my namesake, John, but he is Mr. John Mwaniki. He has a degree as a Bachelor of Commerce, followed by an MBA. He is a capital markets and ICT expert for over 20 years. He's worked with the World Bank and the African Development Bank as a consultant internationally. And he has also worked in this current Laikipia government as a county secretary for 8 months. So ladies and gentlemen, please once again welcome our panel. Right, here we go. We're dealing with the notion of introductions, and everybody so far has said something about their workplace, but we know nothing about them as human beings who have attachments of blood to other people. So may I bring up the word family and see what you have to say in alphabetical order. Do you have family?
Yes, once again, thank you very much. And definitely we are happy to be here. Karibuni mwana Laikipia na wana Kenya. Yes, I'm a family man. I have one wife. I have 4 children. And because my first child is a daughter, they have the knack of making you a grandfather when you don't look so old. So I'm a grandfather of twins. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you. I am married to one, Irene Jerry, and we're blessed with 3 biological kids, and we have adopted 5 kids. And those kids have given us 6 grandchildren.
Yes, I'm married with 3 children. Thank you.
First of all, let me pass my condolences to all the Laikipians who have been affected by what we know is going on, and God will find favor. Yes, I'm a family man. I'm married to one wife, Paris, and we are blessed with 3 boys.
Thank you. I think we can cut down on the applause and just imagine that we're watching TV. Gentlemen, let's start on what Kenyans like to define as a light note, with a bit of humor, lightheartedness, and then get serious as we go along. It seems to me that every politician in Kenya at the moment has to regularly display their dancing skills in public. So I'm asking you whether on a scale of 1 to 10, what mark would you give yourself as a dancer so that we can prepare to see you in action and see whether it's true? Good dancer, out of 10. Bwana Kabugi.
Out of 10, I can classify myself as a good dancer, but not in public.
Right, thank you. That's
Having worked in several African countries, and you know, Africans like dancing, I can say I am a good dancer. Out of 10, give me 8, give me 9. I will dance.
thank you.
10 out of 10.
Right,
I'm a good dancer.
right. So, on the strength of their dancing skills, any of these people can be your governor without any choice. I seem to think that each and every Kenyan politician of some power wants to have a huge escort, outrunners, outriders, security guards. When you, gentlemen, one of you becomes governor, could you say to us whether this is a tradition you're going to retain or get rid of?
The issue of having escorts and having bodyguards, all these things are stipulated in the law. And I'll tell you why the government has found it necessary to guard the governors and the people in the helms. Because the moment you become governor, you cease to be a private person, you become a public figure. And because you're representing people, and there is a real risk of sometimes even annoying people in the things you do, it is a real risk in the life of a governor. So we are gonna obviously retain what is provided by the law, but we will also be cognizant of the fact that we must not get caught up in the trappings of power and ensure that our key focus is not on the security detail, but on the service to the people.
Is that an answer that all of us would give? Because if it's a stipulation by law, then nobody's going to say anything different. Would you agree, gentlemen?
I think that, this country has seen many officials overdoing this. You can see why one might need an aide, perhaps, or even a bodyguard, but there's no reason why you should need an escort vehicle, with sirens and so on, chasing people off the streets of Nyanyuki. I think that is a bit much. Personally, I would like to see sense. As a public official, although yes, there may be people who disagree with our policies, there is no reason for that to degenerate to enmity, and there's no reason to have an entourage and people pushing others around.
Any other additions to this
I
topic?
think the most important thing is the accessibility. Because what tends to happen is that once this detail joins you, then you are alienated from the people you represent. So if you can maintain, because the law requires you to have, but then maintain that accessibility with the electorate, then there will be no discussion about whether you have too much detail or not. But I do agree with my colleague, too many chase cars is not, we are not that blessed as a county to have that opulence of 10, 3, 5 cars.
I'm familiar with one old man who was the president of one country in Latin America. He uses a Volkswagen, he drives himself, he's very friendly. Even you go to his home, we don't even have guards. That may not be possible in Kenya at the moment, but that's what we should work progressively towards, with a lot of underemployment, unemployment among the youth, with a lot of desperation. And I think that's why we're looking for this kind of assignment, because we want to uplift the living standards of our people.
Thank you. Every single Kenyan politician is very attached to associated with the word exorbitant salaries. Paid lots of money by the state, insured by the state, travels by the state. Is this, once again, a culture which you, if you were to become governor, would simply sustain? I know that's a trick question, because nobody's going to say, I'm going to have my salary slashed by half. But what have you got to say about this issue of what you think the people of Laikipia ought to pay you for the service that you render them? How much do you think you're worth?
The worth of any leader is the services that he provides to his people. A friend of mine says, if you overprice an item, it doesn't become priceless. It actually becomes valueless. I think there's this issue of thinking that the seats that we occupy are so important and they need to be paid so much more money than other people should be paid. We must be cognizant of the fact that we are here as public servants, and I think the most important thing is to deliver to the people with the salary that is stipulated in the law. The reason why I keep sometimes going back to the law is because you must also appreciate that as governors, we also have families, we have other personal issues, and it is important that you remunerate them, but not exorbitantly, so that they don't have that financial embarrassment as they conduct their family affairs and their personal affairs. But it should be moderate. Fortunately for governors, we are controlled by SRC, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which is one of the institutions that has ensured that county government salaries are low.
Well, you're raising an issue that's going to rear its head again, ugly or beautiful, and that is the relationship between national government and the county competencies. But you are looking forward to your huge salary, Bwana Madenge.
Thank you, John. I would love to see modesty in the remuneration, not only for the governor, but all the public servants. The tragedy that we have is we're paying quite significant amount of money, but the return on investment is the big question. We know in Kenya we have guys that are earning quite good amount of money, and in some companies we know they are creating jobs, they are creating good income, they are raising taxes. We should be positive. I would think that big tragedy is when you are paid this amount of money and you don't deliver. The people continue to be poorer as you continue to become wealthier and richer by the day. So the bottom line is, we'd want some modesty, would want a situation where there is no conflict of interest like we have seen in the last few years after we enacted, even after we enacted the new constitution.
Yeah, I think there are three bits to it. First of all, how are you financing government expenditure? These salaries and other things. If you are doing so by harassing traders in Nyanyuki or Nyahururu to raise revenue, it clearly is wrong. Secondly, what proportion of your budget is going to pay for these salaries? Now, the law stipulates that at least 30% of your budget ought to be going towards what we say development, so that you're building roads and you're providing other such pieces of infrastructure. So you need to look at that and say, you know, are you living beyond your means, in the sense that you are outside the way what the law provides you to do? Thirdly, and I would agree with these gentlemen that, you know, the whole point is about a return. The whole point is about service. Now, are we getting value for money in paying our public servants what we are paying? And there are many of us who, you know, feel that perhaps we are not getting the full value for what we are paying many public servants. In the private sector, it's performance-based. So, you know, in some future reform, we should like to see pay for public officials linked to performance, so that people don't just go to offices and sit around and drive big cars and then, you know, take home a fat check.
I think we need to be honest with this matter, because the salaries of a governor are very well stipulated by the SRC. But what is the issue and what has been a problem is the allowances, the per diems. We've just witnessed people being paid for 168 million to attend the devolution conference, and they didn't show up. That's where the problem is. Because clearly, if we could manage to ensure that whatever we spend on our civil servants, there is actually value for it. Some of us are coming from a culture a background where you don't earn if you don't work. And that's being replicated in government through performance contract. So we put the performance contract of the governor on the table, and he earns his salary squarely, then there will be no complaint. Perhaps what we need to do is think about, as the government we form, how do we ensure that then if you don't perform, then you get relieved? Because in the private sector, if you don't perform, you get relieved. But in government, when you don't perform, you still get paid.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you appreciate that we're trying to make some change about the way this debate is being conducted. For one thing, we didn't announce the participants as gladiators coming into a stadium, and they didn't stand upright on wonderful podia and looking out as if, you know, one guy is going to sort out the other. We tried, and another thing that we're trying to do is that there isn't a clock ticking away and we're stopping people from saying what they have to say mid-sentence, because we're going to say, you've only got 3 minutes. Because I convinced the panelists that there are some individuals who are capable of making a very pertinent point in 1 sentence, and there are individuals capable of making the same point in 20 minutes. So if people can be very long-winded and people can be very succinct. But with the idea of the discussion, it was up for these gentlemen to work out for themselves whether they were giving their co-panelists adequate time to express themselves. So I just wanted you to be aware of that. So, and at one point, when we get closer on, we're going to break this idea of the order in which people respond to questioning, because we're going to draw lots as to the first person who starts a conversation going. And we don't necessarily want the same question replied to A, B, C, D, so that by the time you're the last one, you have more of an advantage because you've heard what has come before, and it's very easy to dispute it. So I, as a moderator, and again, one of the things that the Laikipia chapter of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, it's something that I'm going to be repeating as the afternoon progresses. The organizers of this debate, the Laikipia chapter of the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, were very keen to have the aspirants represent ideas. And they were very keen to bring an absolute outsider to conduct the debate. So if we're very Kenyan and if we're very tribal, my constituency, Busia County, Budalangi, is a long, long, long way away. And this is perhaps the third time that I'm coming to Nanyuki, and it's the first time in my life that, having spent 3 nights here, that I've spent this long. It's a wonderful, beautiful town, Nanyuki. But one of the things that I'm trying to impress upon you is that the questions that I'm asking are the questions that, with my reputation as a journalist, I would ask you if you are on the summit, if you're on JSO at 7. There are no favorites here. I met these gentlemen for the first time, with the notable exception of Mr. Muredi, because I've met him as an assistant minister. We've met for the first time in order to prepare for this debate. And to establish the House rules, I have been here long enough to engage those who've been here so that everybody has bought in to this way of doing things. So, I would now cynically wish to go into the area of what makes a politician wish to be a politician. Is it truly the will to serve, or is the true instigation the will to power? And these questions are very individualized, if you'd accept, but you've got time to roll it. So I'm asking, what were you doing before, and what is it that makes you so enamored of this idea of remaining a politician? So if you would, if I may start with you, from what I've discovered in my researches, Bwana Kabugi, you are the deputy governor. You have been so. And I ask myself, if you were head of water and cooperatives for 3 years and then therefore abandoned it, is it an unfair question to say, why do you wish to elevate yourself within a regime which you've already served for 5 years? If you feel that's an unfair question, then please put me in my place and I'll ask something else. But I want to know why you'd have done that.
Thank you, Bwana John Sibi. I think it's a very fair question, because the truth is that I'm currently the Deputy Governor of Laikipia County, having served in the water and cooperatives docket for 3 years. Allow me to say, just to take you back a bit because of the previous question, that the issue of leadership is something that I convicted myself a long time ago, after realizing that life is not just about us. Life is about all of us, not just me. And allow me to say one thing which I believe. There is a quote that says, whatever you do for yourself dies with you, but whatever you do for others remains immortal. I am sold to the fact that this life of ours, some people must step forward and provide leadership so that we can make our country a better country. Moving on to the seat of Deputy Governor. This is not the first time that I have thrown myself into the race. I ran for a seat of Member of Parliament in 2007, all with the notion that I could work with the Laikipia people and make Laikipia as beautiful as you claim it to be. Laikipia is a beautiful county, it's a rich county. The only thing that has lacked over time is leadership. So I put myself in front in 2007. My votes were many. I think I won, but I didn't have the skills to take care of my vote. So I was considered a loser. Come 2012, we partnered with His Excellency, and we managed to clinch the seat of governor and deputy governor. However, we came together in a partnership based on a value system that we are going to work for Laikipia people, that we are going to provide water, we are going to provide infrastructure, and many other things that we promised in our manifestos. However, after some time, that value system broke down, and it turned out that my leader was not interested anymore in working for the people.
Sorry if I may cut you short, so why didn't you resign?
Thank you very much. I was actually going to come to that. So over time, I then requested to be allowed to serve in whichever way that I felt best. I was told to make an application, where I actually wrote an application letter even though I was deputy governor. And I requested that I serve in the docket of cooperatives and water, because naturally, as a water engineer, I felt I had the skills to deliver. And I worked very hard. However, over time, it was realized that my profile is rising among the Laikipia people, and that did not sit well with the other politicians, so the dockets were taken away from me. I had the option of resigning, but resignation to me was a defeatist move, what a cowardice move, because the Constitution is very clear that there will be no elections if a governor resigns or stops to have the capacity to govern. Nyeri County is a good example to show you that in the absence of a governor, whether the deputy had a duty or not, he has the singular duty of defending the Constitution to ensure that the people of Laikipia and other counties do not go back to elections. So it is the most unselfish thing to do, to stay on irrespective of the frustration, just to ensure that the people of Laikipia do not suffer that issue of going back to elections.
Understood.
Thank you very much.
Wanawaniki, I'd like to go to you because I seem to suggest that you have linkages to this current government. So perhaps you should go next.
You know, John, I can't disagree with that. That's true. I did get involved with the current regime for give or take 8 months. And my resolve to vie for the governorship of Laikipia County was what I discovered. That 6 months down the line, that we have a big problem in Laikipia in terms of leadership, which is characterized by lack of delivery, pure public theft of public funds. And I felt that I do not want to be part of this regime, having come from a world bank environment where we deliver by our word. And my effort to change those 6 months were not fruitful. And I felt that the honorable thing to do is to quit this government and get to the Laikipian people and seek a mandate to do good. That's what I'm here to do.
Wanamuredi, Assistant Minister, National Government, now the governorship, is politics a profession?
Thank you, John. No, politics and leadership are not the same thing. Politics is a process to get power. Leadership is about what you will do when you're sitting in the seat of power. I want to give you 2 examples, John, as to why I'm in this. This year, in January, we went with parents and friends to a young school called Gatero Day Mixed Secondary School. This school we started while I was MP there. 18 youngsters from that young school going to university. 18 of them. So the whole village, Kangae, the village is called, were excited, and you can see why. Because the prospect of changing people's lives is what brings me to this podium. I give you another example. While I was MP here in Laikipia West, about 5 new investments came, not by me, but by my regime, by my role in government, facilitating private sector to invest. AAA growers, for example, and an estimated 9,000 jobs created from these new enterprises that came to invest in Laikipia. So that is what it is about. The prospect, the ability to actually meaningfully change people's lives. Lastly, communities were fighting here when I became MP. Pokot, Turkana, Samburu, Kikuyu. The Laikipia Peace Caravan brought peace. For 6 years, communities went without gunfights because of that effort. It is the prospect, it is the opportunity to meaningfully change people's lives. Thank you.
Wanamuredi, Sorry, Bwana Madenge, you are the new kid on the block politically. You understand what I'm saying by that? So with all these seasoned politicians who've been there, come in, come out, your CV talks about working for world vision and making a tremendous change in terms of community development projects. You were already making a significant contribution to your society. Why do you now want to negate that to become governor?